record.
What up, y'all? Welcome to Too Perfect Podcast. My name is Yzel.
My name is Renz.
And we're not perfect. No, we're not.
Too Perfect is a podcast dedicated to 3 things.
So, first things first, we're going to be sharing a ton of personal stories about ourselves. And that's kind of our way of owning our imperfection.
Yeah, and secondly, we just want to create a safe space so we can all share our most authentic self.
And thirdly, because we said 3 things, we are intending on building a community for people like us who are just really fed up with this pressure of needing to be perfect. So that's pretty much what we're about. I also want to add that this is like DIY, baby. This is not no professional podcaster. We're really just doing this for shits and giggles.
Yeah, again, we're not perfect.
We're not perfect.
Obviously.
And we want to share our imperfection with you, so please just take it.
Be nice, please. I can't take criticism. No, I'm just kidding. No, I could do it.
Yeah, I can do it. Why are you doing this, friends?
Why am I doing this?
Yeah, why are you doing this podcast, bro?
For me, I just want to create... Oh, wait. I already said that. I'm literally the one who freaking said that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, for me, I just really want to share myself. I want to build a community. That's something I always crave for. So that's mainly for me. How about for you?
Same. Connecting with people. I'm doing this because I just want to put myself out there. Mm-hmm. We live in a time where you really but having presence online is kind of the way we're moving towards, especially with like the pandemic and having to stay in quarantine. I was inspired by a lot of people who are starting their own podcasts, but I also started listening to a ton of podcasts.
I know.
I listen to so many podcasts, different genres, and I'm like, I love that. I really feel connected to the hosts and the speakers, and I learned something about them. I learned something about myself, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to connect with people and share the very little things I've learned along the way and see if I can connect. But that was what it was for me.
Yeah. I think for me too was like, I mean, we always do this because we always talk, but I love that I get to learn more about myself because you mentioned that. And for me to just unpack things and to say them out loud, recorded, and there's proof online, I think it will hold me accountable and I get to really find out who I am.
That's true.
So
and
I was just going to say, it's just going to be a good personal journey for me.
True. And so, you know, there are a lot of amazing professional podcasts out there. And so if you're listening to this, don't expect that. You're in the wrong place. This is very much not perfect. It's really just like getting to know us and us getting to know our listeners and building a community and connecting and laughing at ourselves and sometimes getting a little bit deep. So it kind of will feel like a therapy session with your closest friends, which is like Renz talked about, like we are best friends and we've been talking.
We're best friends.
What's your name again? We've been talking about all different types of topics for like 15 years now. And so we're basically putting that on the internet for people to listen to.
Exactly. Yeah. This has been in the making for 15 years.
Pretty much.
We always wanted to make something together and put it out there, and now we're doing it. So I'm proud of us.
Me too. Even though we haven't done anything.
But you have to be proud along the way. I think that's part of like not being perfect and the process.
Yeah, and like kind of hyping yourself up to
exactly. It's like already giving yourself value even though we haven't done anything yet, quote unquote.
Yup. So, this first episode, we wanted to talk about value and how you have inherent value regardless of anything. Like, regardless of where you are at in life and what you've accomplished and what you will accomplish, you have inherent value. And I think the reason why we wanted to make this the first episode is because for me, so often I felt like if I didn't reach a goal or I didn't hit a standard or if I wasn't at my perfect state for that point in time, I felt undeserving of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I felt like I was not important and that I didn't deserve to take up space.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't at this like ideal version of myself.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of like unlearning that belief throughout the years to kind of let that go and say to myself like, hey, bitch, like, you are deserving. You are valuable.
Yeah.
Regardless of like where you're at and how you're feeling. Like, you are important regardless of how you feel.
Exactly. And that is the thing that's so hard all the time, because even though you just said that and I have said those things,
it made me nervous.
Yeah. Because you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like, you know, learning to always catch yourself is part of it too, because it's like that's something we've always known, but you still beat yourself up sometimes, or for me anyway. So for me, I'm trying to just be more aware if I hear myself talking, like, not even in the negative light, if I'm minimizing my win and my value, I just try to stop that and try to be nicer to me.
Yeah, be nice to yourself. That's the message of this episode. Be nice to yourself because you're valuable, you're learning, you're growing, which I think a lot of people are, like, they're having to come to, like, terms with that in this time because you're spending so much time alone and, like, a lot of our lives have been put on pause because we've been on lockdown, we've been in quarantine, so you can't really, like, go out and live your daily life. You don't have as many distractions.
Yeah.
So you're just like, it's just you, you know? So, anyways. I think we should talk about, like, why we started thinking this way. Like, why is it... Because I can even think of, like, other people who feel this immense pressure that they place on themselves or have been placed on them of like, I need to be a certain way, I need to, you know, quote unquote be perfect. Why do we think this way?
I think there's definitely like a lot of factors that goes into that. I think media and society and even just your own environment can get you to really feel that way even without like noticing it.
Like your family, even your friends, especially your friends, there's a lot of pressure to being a certain way, and a lot of that is like fed to you through the people closest to you, or like you said, like the media and whatnot. And I want this podcast to be very engaging, so like for any listeners out there, where do you experience that pressure? Or is that even something you think about? Because sometimes it happens and you're not thinking about it. You're not conscious of, like, people applying this pressure onto you until you're kind of sitting alone and you're like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? So for our listeners, like, please let us know. Share with us, like, what that pressure feels like for you and where you experience that pressure to being perfect, or maybe if not even perfect, maybe it's just pressure to be a certain way.
I think it's very human nature to seek out validation, and I think that's another place where it might be coming from, because you said it, like, it could be from your friends, your family, whoever you surround yourself with. Because obviously we want to be liked, we want to be valued by others, because we always see it. I feel like it's always easier to see it from that lens, from someone else's value. But in reality, you don't need that. You could just validate yourself.
Can you?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Because everything is internalized. It's like you are perceiving that other person's validation when in reality, like, just do it in your own head. Maybe. I don't know.
I feel that. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Did you ever find somebody, like, even like in childhood, where you looked at them and you just admired them and you're like, I think this person is perfect?
Yes.
Who were they? Tell me.
It was my mom.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, like, my mom, in my eyes, was just like this shining light, and I'm just like, you're so perfect. How do you do it all? She was the first one that I could recall thinking that.
Okay. Anybody else after that?
I think, like, my cousin and her friend. I think it might be her friend specifically, because she was
your
just
cousin's friend?
Yeah, my cousin's friends. Like, she was older, a lot older than I was. She was probably already a teenager. I mean, I was still like 3 or 4, and I just thought she was the coolest person. I don't even really remember her. I just remember seeing her, and I was just like, you're so cool. But it's not stemming from, like, knowing them and thinking, like, wow, everything like you do.
First glance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Same with me. I adored my mom. I was, like, in disbelief. I also thought she was, like, this perfect being. Like, she really could do no wrong. I remember just, like, being super in love with my mom.
Same.
But I also remember one of my classmates in first grade. This was back in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And because, side note, I was born in the Philippines and I moved to Los Angeles. But anyways, so I was in first grade in the Philippines, and this girl, there were actually 3 of them. They were just, like, perfect in my eyes. They were, like, so well put together. Yeah. They always had, like, the best, like, what is that? Like, pencils.
Pencil
like
cases.
Pencil case. Like, their school supplies were so cute.
That was the thing back then.
They had, like, the hair accessories. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, the butterfly.
Yes. The little clip-on things.
Oh my God!
That was the shit, you know.
Dude,
you,
if
like,
I saw that today, I would buy it and I would
honestly,
wear the
I
fuck
saw
out
this
of it.
girl. I was on Instagram and she had them on, and I'm like, we need that.
Like the little girl in you is fucking living. So there were like 3 girls who had that, and I just thought they were perfect, and I was kind of scared to talk to them in a way.
Yeah.
I just kind of like. Well, I always kept my distance from people, just, like...
Regardless.
Period.
Yeah.
I had, like, one best friend. Period! I had one best friend, and that was pretty much it.
Same.
And, but yeah, that was when I started to think of, like, this person is, like, perfection, and I want to be just like them. But obviously you can't be them. That's the problem.
That's the problem, yeah.
You can't be anybody else. Like, you can't look like them. I mean, other than getting, like, plastic surgery.
Yeah, like, you could try.
You can try. But then it's like...
There's studies that shows that, like, even when you get plastic surgeries, people have that dissociation. So even when you get to that point where you physically might look like them, it's still not enough sometimes. So it really is all mental, about your own mental validation.
Yeah, and that's when, like, you know, if you guys have seen, like, Botch, and then, like, people they can't stop getting plastic surgery because it's like they need to keep trying to look like, you know, this other person.
Yeah.
But turn that around. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. What qualities did that perfect person possess?
My cousin's friend? I honestly...
Or just like, no, in general, like, I'm sure there have been other people you've admired and tried to be like...
I think, because earlier I was talking about my mom, I think for me, when I was a child, I didn't understand it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was her strength. It was just like, every day she just did everything she could to make sure that I had like a good life, and I think it was that strength that I admired about her the most, or something.
Okay, so strength. For me, I think it was grace.
Ooh.
Like people that I looked at and wanted to emulate, and I looked at them like they were perfection. They've always been very graceful people. They held a lot of grace. They just had this impeccable composure about them. Even as like children, I would look at them like, I'm this fucking loser. Just like, wow, like they're so graceful. And like that's what I wanted to emulate.
Yeah. Which makes sense, because you do focus a lot on like how you get perceived. So it's
me
like,
personally?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Everyone else.
Doesn't everybody though?
Yes, I think so.
Comment below. Do you care how you are perceived?
I think definitely. Everyone cares how they're perceived, because I think it's innate. But I think a lot of like I would describe you as graceful, but maybe that's something
that's
you
because
like
I've
emulated.
tried to work on it, babe. I've been working on it, babe. Yeah. No, for sure. I worked on it because I saw those people as graceful, and I was like, they're fucking perfect.
Yeah.
They're like walking in, and they're like, they're being brought in by a cloud. It's like, and I'm like, that's what I want. Like, why can't I be that? And so I worked really hard to emulate that. Which leads me to my next question.
What is it?
Do you have like a cringy ass fucking story?
Okay, I don't know if this is cringy.
Yeah.
But I just thought one, and like this is like when I was a child. When I was younger, I was often described as I look like my dad. Like, but again, I was in love with my mom, so I wanted to look like her. So when everyone used to say like, "Oh, you look like your dad. You look just like your dad," I used to cry.
Just on the spot, just tears.
I was like, "No, I look like my mom." I'm fucking crying. Bad tears.
She's never told me this. What the fuck?
And I didn't think of it as anything, because I'm just a child honestly responding, and these are people who knew my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
So I was just like, their opinions must be true.
It must be true.
Because they've seen us.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, don't say that to me. I don't care if it's true or not. Just don't say it to me, lie to me, tell me I look like my mom, please.
Oh, man.
But like as we were sitting here talking about this, I realized that had something to do with how I wanted to be perceived and who I admired at the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think, fuck, I can't think of the story. Because I'm just so blown away by your fucking story, bro, that I'm just like, what?
I know, every time it's a new information, it's like, you gotta give me time to process it.
Yeah, because I know everything about you.
Yeah.
So it's like...
That was me when you just said, like, oh, these people are so graceful. I'm like, that's where she got it from.
Yeah. I don't think I was inherently graceful, but one could argue, are you ever inherently much of anything? That's a topic for later, but I wanted to go back to the purpose of this video, which is really like, you're not perfect.
Yeah.
That actually doesn't exist. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect. You're gonna make mistakes, and everything that you do. Actually, you're probably going to make more mistakes in your life than anything you'll ever do.
Yeah.
But you're still valuable. And that was a lesson that I still am trying to learn to this day.
Yeah.
Because, man, there's just been so much pressure personally that I felt like in order to have a seat, in order to be of value, you gotta have your shit together.
Exactly.
And that's not true.
No. I think I also grew up that way. Maybe that's the reason why I was super silent growing up, because maybe deep down inside I didn't feel like that space belonged to me, because who am I to speak? I'm not perfect. But that's not true. Like, you should still be able to voice out your opinion and grow from it.
I 100% relate. But yeah, that's what this episode is about, and we're just trying to reinforce that, and we, I think, are saying that on this public forum so that there's more messages like this out there.
Yeah.
Because it's not all the time. Like, you don't hear that message all the time. At least I don't.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to do this type of podcast where we can just fuck around and say positive shit every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Did you remember anything?
The cringy story?
I know.
Because I want to be perfect.
I know, you just don't want that. Like, there you go again, circling around.
I'm sure I have some stupid ass stories about myself where I try to be like fucking perfect. I don't know, it's not really cringy, but I know that like as a child, I was always trying to dress up like a fucking princess. And I think that maybe that's different. I think a lot of people do that, you know? Little girls like to wear gowns and whatever. But in my mind, that was my way of displaying myself gracefully, right? Because that's what I thought was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the fucking sirens. Bro, we live in Los Angeles, so this is quite normal. Like the helicopter, the police sirens. You guys are probably hearing it. Yes, this is happening in my house. Because again, we're not perfect. We don't give a fuck.
Hopefully someday.
Someday we'll be perfect.
Someday, hopefully. But that doesn't exist, so...
I'm thinking I might cut this out, but I probably will leave it in because...
It's the life!
It's the life! This is LA, baby!
It's the life, bro!
It's,
We're giving you snippets. If you're not from LA, this is how it is. And if you are from here, you already know.
You already know. I actually think it is calming for me because I grew up in the heart of LA. So this is like every night. And then when I moved out of the state, and that wasn't like a daily thing, I was like, it's too quiet. It's too quiet over here. We need some noise. We need some cop cars. We need some helicopters.
The silence, huh? Can't sit with it?
Yeah. Now I can because I lived out of the state for so long. But now I'm back and I'm like, wow, music's my ears.
I didn't know I missed it until I'm back.
Yeah. So it doesn't bother me. But I'm kind of like drawing it out until they leave so that maybe if I do
psych, they never leave.
Bro, not until they find whoever they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. What are you humming?
Nothing. My own theme song.
Jesus Christ. Yo, stop running. You're not
get caught.
Get away, bro. Just get caught. Like, what's up? Like, come on.
nobody needs this.
Nobody needs this. I wonder what they did.
I know. I always wonder. I was
Right?
trying to make up a fake scenario in my head.
What else are we talking about in this episode?
Did you finish your story?
What the fuck was I saying? What the fuck?
You were talking about dressing up like a princess. That's the last thing I remember.
Yeah,
I don't
so it's
know
not
if you
cringy,
finished.
but I mean, in my mind, I was already trying to do the absolute fucking most.
You extra.
Extra, bro. Like, and it was my decision. It wasn't like my mom was dressing me that way. I would tell her, this is what I'm trying to wear today. And you can't tell me no. Like,
This
I'm
is
wearing,
the fit.
I'm wearing a gown. Like, I'm wearing a ball gown. I don't think, like, people don't think like that.
I don't know. I was envious of people like that. Like, I guess another person who I didn't necessarily think she was perfect herself, but I thought her life was perfect. Like, I thought she was prettier than me. She had nicer things than me. And when she wore, like, the gowns and stuff, it fit her. And then when I wore it, I just felt like a rug that's wearing something cute. I know, right?
That's so sad.
I know, but I also loved it too. Like, it was, I think it was just like that pressure of not wanting to be seen. I feel like a phony when I wore the clothing, but I also really loved it at the same time because I was like, wow, the only time I get to wear a dress.
Yeah. You know what? I totally... You know how I was talking about those girls in my class in first grade?
Yeah.
That's how I felt about them. They had perfect lives. Like, their lives were perfect. Everything they did was perfect. They had better things. I thought that they were prettier than me. So it was just like that weird comparison game, which is so weird because, like, in first grade, you're like 6 years old.
Yeah.
What the fuck is a 6-year-old? Why are you thinking in that way already of like, oh, I want to be like this girl.
Yeah.
And she's like better than me, and I'm not like her.
Yeah.
You're not.
You're not. You can't.
Yeah, you can't be other people. You just have to work with what you got. And that is perfect.
Yeah. That's perfection.
Yeah. That's so weird. Can somebody answer why we are like that? Like, did you feel like that actually? If you're listening to this
I want to
now,
know.
Did you also think that? Because I've never shared these feelings.
Same.
Like, the things I'm talking about, I've never talked about with any other person.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to know, are we all just having the same thoughts at the same time? And, like, what
we're just
is
all
it?
oblivious to it. Yeah.
Because we're not talking to each other
Yeah.
about these things. So,
Yeah.
it's like, it could very much be that thing of, like, dude, we all fucking think you're... You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Maybe someone was looking at you and they're like, wow, she's perfect. And, like, I want to be just like her. And, you know, she's this and this and this. And, like, I want to have those things, too. Like, is that a thing?
I think it's a thing.
Yeah.
I can see that being a thing, but I also didn't talk about it growing up because I think a lot of it is tied into shame. Like, well, first of all, I'm not perfect, so if I ever told someone that, then they'll know I'm not perfect. Then I just kind of told on myself, you know? It's like, bro, I'm gonna keep this low key because I'm trying to work on being perfect. And the only way to do that is to not talk about it and just be. But it's like, no. That's how you create isolation. That's how you create more pressure.
Yeah, and then you become this, like, anxious person.
Yeah.
And you're just, like, worried all the fucking time of, like, oh my god, like, I'm not valuable. I'm not like them. And I don't deserve.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not worthy. At least that's what it was like for me. I turned into this, like, anxious person. I turned into this, like, just a negative person that didn't think much of themselves. And then I've had to work really hard for years and years and years to not be that way, because it's crippling. Like, you don't get to do any of the things you really want to do because you're so fucking worried all the time of being perfect. Or being this person that can't even exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so weird because it's like, that's something I've always felt, and my younger self was just so confused and didn't really understand where it's coming from. But again, now it's like making sense. I was just super anxious of doing the wrong thing, and that's why I just never did anything. Because it's like, it's the safer bet. If you don't do something, they can't judge you for it because you didn't do nothing. But that's how you end up not getting anything done.
Then you're not living.
Exactly.
Like, that's not life. Like, life is about doing things and trying things.
Experience.
And experiencing things and fucking up and thinking, and getting better, because you don't get to that next level of whatever you want out of your life without going and trying and fucking up.
Wow.
Wow, therapy.
Wow.
But for, again, like, listeners, I want to hear, like, what your experience was like coming to terms with these types of revelations, right? If you are also the type of person where you've been anxious because, you just didn't feel deserving, or you had this idea of, like, who you wanted to be or who you thought you needed to be.
Yeah.
But it's not really, like, it's not really you, right? How did you break out of that? And just what was your experience with that? Because this is going to be on YouTube. If you're looking at this on YouTube, comment below. I'm the type of person that I love reading YouTube comments.
Yeah. That's where you are.
I live
all the time
in the comments. I don't type any comments, but I read them. Like, I read them a lot.
Yeah.
And
she set up tent. She has popcorns, and she's like...
Because some people really go in. They treat it like their fucking diary. And they're like, in the 2nd grade, like, blah, blah, blah. They're dropping hella details. Like, that's what I want to see. So...
Yeah. This is how you know people are, like, looking out for communities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. I guess that would be, like, the equivalent of us being on, like, AIM.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And, like, our AIM days, and just talking to, like, going into chat rooms.
Yeah.
And then, like...
ASL, question mark.
Yeah, and then you contact, like, a specific person, and then it's, like, you form this, like, random-ass fucking friendship. It's kind of like that, I would say, if you had to compare it to something prehistoric, which is AIM.
Yeah. People are, like, that's younger, who's listening to this, hopefully would be like, what the hell is AIM? Like,
Facts.
you aim with something?
Yeah.
It's an instant messaging program, if you don't know. If you're too young for it.
Yeah. You're? Okay, do you still have those moments in your life now where you want to be perfect?
Yes, it's like, it's so weird that, and that's why I love our podcast, because I think it's gonna help just, like, configuring my brain, because it's so inherent in me to want to be perfect, to present, like, the best thing as possible, that I don't know, it's almost just like my usual thing. But I'm just practicing to just letting it be okay. Like, this is the best I can do, and even though it's not perfect, like, it's okay. I'm gonna be fine.
I just thought of something as you were saying that.
Yeah.
Because I asked you, like, do you still have those experiences? Even though we know that we've worked really hard not to think that way, of, like, being like, it's okay, make mistakes, whatever. We still have...
Still happens.
Yeah, we still have that fucking thought in our head of, like, bitch, that wasn't perfect.
Don't turn that in. Like, redo that thing.
You're not valuable today.
Yeah.
And you start, like, beating yourself up, right?
Yeah.
Domino effects.
Yeah.
And I just thought of your portfolio.
That's why, actually, I was gonna be in the cloud. Because I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Like, the main reason I had a hard time finishing it was because it was never perfect. And even now, I just finished literally the other day. So I was looking into it and I uploaded it and I caught myself thinking, I'm like, this particular part is not perfect. I think
you should give some context.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck portfolio is she talking about?
Exactly. Oh, okay. So, I'm a graphic designer. I'm a graphic designer who graduated in 2019, like, winter time. So, right before the pandemic happened. Mm-hmm. So, this gave me, like, a lot of time to fix my portfolio. And it took me literally the whole pandemic up to now to, like, finish it, to get to that point, because I just felt like it wasn't perfect, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I just hated it. I didn't like it. And that's what really deterred me from just applying and, like, moving to the next step, just because I was so hung up on that pinpoint of my life that I was like, my portfolio is not perfect. I can't get a job like this. That's literally my thought process.
But what have you learned now?
That you can't get a job like this. I learned nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think I just negotiated with myself. I'm like, okay, one more rebrand, and then this is it, and it'll be okay. And you can still
get a job like this. Like,
yes.
And there, that's the thing. Like, there is no perfect portfolio.
Yeah.
So you're constantly going to be wanting, with, like, that mindset, you're constantly going to be thinking, like, no, the portfolio is not perfect, it's not perfect, it's not perfect, and just, like, going on and on and on and on with that mindset. It's going to be, like, 10 years from now, where, like, you're still working on your fucking portfolio, and you haven't put anything out, because you're just hung up on the fact that it's not perfect, which is... Evidently, we are making this podcast because we are the ones who have a problem.
No, that's evident.
Not being perfect.
That's evident. We just want people who feel that way to reach out to us to help us come to terms with it.
And not just that, but like we just want to build this community because, especially nowadays with like the prevalence of social media, you're just constantly being fed lies of like
all the time
of people being perfect and looking perfect and living perfect lives, and it's like you start to feel bad about yourself, and then you start to stall your life because you feel like in order for you to do anything, you gotta first be like them.
Exactly.
You know, with whatever. So any fucking ways, I'm sure it's a ton of people out there that feel that fucking pressure of needing to be perfect too. So that's why we're doing this. If we haven't fucking said this 20,000 times in 20 different
You could literally start a drinking game. Every time you say the word perfect,
take a shot, boo.
You're drunk already.
Yeah, for sure. By the end of this episode, you're drunk.
You are actually in the hospital now.
Yeah.
With alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, for sure. So... Okay, so... Sorry guys, you could just experience a weird cut because we had to take a quick bathroom break. But I was about to say that for me, this pressure of needing to be perfect, it became pretty detrimental to my life, or it can be pretty detrimental to my life because I start to isolate myself. I withdraw from people who are important to me because there's that shame and that guilt of like, I'm not perfect. I'm not who they want me to be. So I don't deserve to take up any space in their life. So literally I will like avoid phone calls, which is so bad. Like I don't pick up like my dad's phone calls, who's obviously like the most important man in my life.
Yeah.
And just stupid shit like that. And I'm I struggle with fixing that about myself.
Yeah.
It's been such a weird fucking journey because it's so easy to just be like crawling into a hole of being like, I'm not perfect, so let me just disappear.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you can relate to that, let me know. Let's work on it together. Let's go seek therapy. I'll go to therapy. You go to therapy. We'll talk about our therapy sessions. Just kidding. That was a joke. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I got a little heavy.
People were like, that's heavy? Shut up. No, I'm just kidding. It is. It's pretty heavy. It's always hard to talk about
What's wrong with you?
exactly. It's that, like...
Yeah.
It's that confrontation, you know? It's like, you know you're not perfect, but when you're talking about it with someone, again, it's so tied in with shame that it's like, oh God, I feel it again. Like, it's even worse now that I'm saying it out loud to this person. Because that used to be, or that's something I tried to work on a lot. Like, back then, I also used to ignore, like, my mom's calls.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah, because I would usually be high, so I smoke occasionally now, but back then I used to smoke quite heavily, like I'm usually high.
She was a big pothead, bro. Yeah.
Huge. So I think for me that was stemming because my parents always saw any drugs as like bad. So in my brain, I'm high, I'm being bad. So if I like pick this up, she'll know I'm high. Even though my mom, like, no, she wouldn't. But I'm bearing the guilt, you know? So if I pick it up, I feel it. I feel the shame. I feel the guilt. And I don't want to feel that. So I'm just gonna ignore it. And it's funny because even if I ignore it, I'm still kind of feeling it in just smaller doses, you know? So it's crazy, but again, that created like you know, there's a distance because I'm not doing my part to stay connected.
Yeah, I feel that. Do you feel like you were smoking so much? Was there like a reason behind that?
I think for me it was a quick fix because it's a downer, so it enabled me to stop thinking so fast. It helped me forget because, like, you know, that's one of the side effects of marijuana. You just kind of lose your short-term memory, I believe. So I think if I don't remember it and if I don't have it and I feel numb, then I'm not feeling the bad feelings, you know? So I think for me it was definitely a crutch. And the reason why...
Why were you feeling so bad?
I think I was just like, again, just to put it in context, this is around like college. I'm not in the position, like I wasn't graduating in the same speed as everyone was who entered college with me. And there was just like a lot of like shame and guilt because I didn't feel like I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be. So in order to kind of be okay, it's just like, I'm just gonna use it. It was like the quick, easy thing. And it was always in my life, like the option to be high is always there. So I never even thought about it. Like while it was happening, I never thought about it. Oh, I'm doing this to do this. Because obviously I was just doing it for fun. And then it wasn't until after, like maybe like, after Jackie graduated, and then I'm still smoking.
Side note, Jackie is her boyfriend.
Yeah, it wasn't then that I started to realize, like, well, I'm not even doing it for fun anymore. So what am I doing it for? And I think that's when I started to realize, I'm like, I'm escaping.
Yeah.
What am I escaping from? Maybe this, maybe that. Basically, it's just the pressures of life, of not being perfect, and that itself is deteriorating me from like being close to the people I want to be close with.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that was the reason, especially with like the whole, because we're both Filipino American, and getting your bachelor's degree is pretty important. Education is fairly important. And if you're not, to me it was like there's no option. Like you have to get a degree. Like that's not.
Yeah.
It's out of the question. But do you know, in the 2019 Census Bureau, adults aged 25 and above, only 36% of those adults in America have a bachelor's degree.
No, I did not know
36%. Huh. So it's actually not.
Yeah.
It's not, because obviously for us, coming from our background, we think like
it's 100%.
It's a necessity. Like, you need to have a bachelor's degree. But in the grand scheme of things, only 36% of Americans aged 25 and up have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's so crazy.
Perspective.
Wow.
Perspective.
Wow.
But yeah, I could totally see with that, and of course coming from like just culturally where you're coming from, you feel unworthy. Yeah. You feel like lesser than.
Yeah.
Because you're not at the rate that like everybody else or the peer, your peers are going through.
Because you can't help but compare yourself from those people, because you guys all literally started baseline all together. So to be like, you're still behind, even though I had people like, quote unquote. Even though I had a lot of like support and a lot of people who gave me like
words of encouragement.
Yes, words of encouragement. There's always people saying like, it's not a race, because it is true. It's not a race. It's all about your own journey. But again, in my head, I was like, yes, like, I'm taking in the compliment, like, yes, you're right. Like, I look enlightened, because that's what a perfect person would do. Take in the good advice and let it apply to your life. But in reality, I was still beating myself up. I'm like, still not graduating this year. Still not graduating this year. Even though I knew that it's not that big of a deal. You'll be fine. You'll get there.
Yeah. And I think it's a little unfair for us to have that type of expectation, because you don't fucking know what you want to do.
Exactly.
Like, you don't really fucking know. So, making that jump and being like, I gotta get this degree. It's like, okay, well, what is the point of this degree? Is this even what you want to fucking do? Because how many times did you change your major?
Well, I actually didn't get a chance to. It was just all in my head, because I didn't have to declare a major until I transferred. Because, just background, I went to a CC, so
a community college.
You're right. The fuck is a CC? Copy me in an email. But so I went to a community college, and then I transferred. So you don't necessarily have to declare a major. You could just get an AA on something. But I didn't do that, so I didn't have to declare anything until I got to Cal State. But on that on the transition from the community college to a Cal State, I was literally like bouncing back and forth, because I was scared to really pursue what I wanted. And I thought like, maybe I should just take the quote unquote easy part than the hard part or whatever. But I'm glad that I think because at that moment I was a manager, and I already had like perspective in that field. So if I just got my business degree, it's just gonna like all work together. Yeah. So
Okay,
it's like it's a safer choice.
Yeah.
Is what I meant to say.
Because you already have experience in
exactly
managing, so it's like, well,
it will carry hand in hand. If I wanted to go to a different like business,
right.
There's already experience and the degree match. But I'm an artist, so I was just like, should I compartmentalize that part of me? Because like, you know, not everyone pursue their dreams. People work just to work, and then they'll use that earning to you know, to maintain their hobbies and stuff. But I just talk to myself. I'm like, why am I so afraid? What am I really afraid of? I'm afraid of not being perfect at it and failing, and that's my love. So it's like, ugh. But you know, I'm glad I didn't pussy or I'm saying I'm glad that I went through with it.
Yeah. So I think another big piece of like this episode is talking about, I think did I say it earlier? I was like, value? Did I talk about that? Fuck, I already forgot.
What about value?
See, I'm telling y'all, this is DIY, bro. I think I said it earlier.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you hold value regardless of anything. Doesn't matter. You have inherent value, and it's like, why is that? Why do you have inherent value? Like, why do you matter, regardless if you're like perfect or not? And I think, how do we answer that?
I know, right? I think for me personally, I just believe everyone has inherent value. Like, how can one person not have that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, and how can anyone deny that of anyone is so baffling to me.
Yeah.
That I forget that, wait, you do that to yourself. You know?
Yes, you do it to your fucking self.
Yeah.
That's maybe that message is for us specifically. But yeah, we do it to ourselves. We devalue ourselves constantly because we don't think that we are perfect or we're lacking in something. So we trick ourselves into believing that we're less than. But you are valuable and you do matter. And you have inherent value. And I think you are valuable because you're not perfect.
Yeah.
I think that is the reason why you're important in this world, is because your imperfection gives you a very unique perspective.
Yeah.
And you bring that to the table wherever you go.
Yeah. Like, you're the only one with that insight who can contribute that to the team.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so crazy.
So crazy.
Life's so crazy.
Wow. It's just the revelations, you know?
But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have for this first episode.
Yeah, we'll keep it light. We'll keep it short.
We'll keep it light. We'll keep it short because we're
But
actually
next time
gonna go eat sushi, so we gotta get going.
Oh my god, I can't wait. That's one thing I love about like being in LA. Just the diversity of food.
Oh yeah, we got good food. But yeah, so that is pretty much our first episode. Please respond to our questions that we have sporadically included throughout the episode. Let us know, you know, who did you admire? I would love to read that. Who did you admire that you felt like, okay, this person's perfect and I want to be just like them? Yeah. What were their qualities? What did you try to emulate? And how do you feel now? Like, do you still feel like you have to be perfect? Do you feel valuable, especially at a time like this with the pandemic and being on lockdown, and maybe if you've had to pause certain aspects of your life? How are you feeling? Check in with us. We want to build a community, as we said in our introduction. And follow us on everything. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're going to be on pretty much every podcasting platform. Share it with your friends. Talk about it with your best friend. And let's get connected. But that's pretty much all we have for you guys. Catch us on episode 2. And have a nice day. And that's it.
That's it. That's episode 1.
Bye. Bye.